No matter how much you lament, your wife is mine now. That's a fact that won't change. I was betrayed by my trusted boss, Michael, who had an affair with my wife and then told me this. At that time, I thought I had hit rock bottom in life, but I never imagined such a turn of events would follow. My name is Jason. My family was poor. Because of that, I couldn't get toys or games. But I never struggled for things to play with. I've always loved making things, and I used to make my own toys to play with. I would use empty cans and plastic bottles from home to create my original toys. As a child's creations, they were inferior in quality to store-bought toys. However, because I made them myself, I grew attached and played with them a lot. In school, I loved and excelled in art and craft classes where I could create things. I often received compliments from friends and teachers for being skillful. My parents always praised my creations, saying how amazing they were. Especially my dad, who worked in a factory, was particularly skilled in crafting. On days off, my dad would help make my toys battery-operated or enhance their appearance to make them look cooler. Sometimes, we even made toys together, which was a lot of fun. Looking back now as an adult, those were truly enjoyable times, and I'm grateful to my dad for joining in. As a child who loved crafting, I vaguely dreamt of a future job related to it. When I reached the final year of junior high and it was time to decide on a future path, I chose to attend a public technical high school. After graduating, I decided to work in a local factory instead of pursuing further education. Though I had the option of going to college on a recommendation, my desire to work on the front lines of crafting was strong. And I also wanted to financially support my financially struggling family. I felt grateful to my parents who raised me with love despite being poor and wanted to repay them as soon as possible. Working in the factory was fulfilling. My main job was manufacturing and assembling parts, and I found it enjoyable and rewarding. I was proud to see the products I helped create not only being used in America, but also flying off to the world. I truly believed I had made the right career choice. It was my dream job. Then, in my second year of employment, I started dating a woman named Sarah in the same department. She was the belle of the company, not only beautiful but also kind-hearted. When I introduced Sarah to my high school friends, they all envied me. Our relationship was smooth, and 3 years later, I proposed, and we happily became husband and wife. Our married life was blissful. Sarah quit her job and focused on part-time work and household chores. Thanks to her, I could concentrate on my beloved job. However, one day, when everything seemed to be going well, an unexpected event occurred. I received a call from my high school classmate, Chris. Chris was a quiet type but knowledgeable about machinery, and we hit it off immediately after entering school. We kept in touch even after graduation. Thinking it was an invitation to hang out, I found it strange since Chris was usually the one being invited. It was unusual for him to call. "Hello, it's Jason. What's up?" I asked. Chris spoke in a serious tone. "I have something to talk about, but it's not good over the phone. Can we meet in person?" It seemed like an important matter. We decided to meet at a certain cafe the next day and then ended the call. The next day was conveniently my day off, so it worked out for both of us. As I arrived at the cafe, Chris soon joined me. "Sorry for calling you out of the blue," he said. "It's okay. So, what's this all about?" I asked. After a moment of silence, Chris started to speak as if he'd made up his mind. "The thing is, a week ago, I saw your wife, Sarah, talking to a man at a bar during a company drink outing. A week before, Sarah had been out late, saying she was having a girls' night out with her friends. It turned out Sarah had lied to me." "Is that true?" I asked him. When I pressed him for more information, Chris nodded. Yes, it's true. And when they left the bar, they were holding hands and seemed to be getting along really well. The word affair immediately came to mind. I couldn't hide my shock. So, it's true. I wonder who the guy is, but I guess you couldn't possibly know that much, right? Well, actually, I do know. They were talking loudly, so I overheard their conversation. From what I gathered, the man is your boss, Michael. They've been having an affair for about 6 months now. What? I couldn't believe it. Michael was a well-respected person in the company. Ever since I was a newcomer, he had taken great care of me and was a dependable boss in every situation. I couldn't have imagined him having an affair. I wanted to believe it was a joke, but Chris is an honest person. I couldn't conceive of him lying about such a thing. Moreover, thinking back, Michael had been acting strangely for the past 6 months. For instance, he began asking me to work overtime unusually often. You're a reliable person, Jason. That's why I want to entrust this to you, Michael would say, making it hard for me to refuse, so I always accepted. Also, there were times when I felt someone's gaze during work and noticed Michael glaring at me. At the same time, there were inexplicable incidents at the workplace. Documents I planned to submit would suddenly go missing, and tools I valued seemed to disappear. Were these Michael's ways of harassing me? With these uneasy thoughts, I returned home, where Sarah greeted me with her usual smile. I didn't want to believe this smile was a lie. I wanted to dismiss the scene Chris witnessed as a misunderstanding and keep it to myself, but the urge to uncover the truth prevailed. I took a deep breath and told Sarah about what Chris had told me. Lying and sneaking around with Michael. Were you having an affair? I confronted her. In response, Sarah just gave a faint smile. I thought I was being careful, but I guess I got caught, she said. The affair seemed to be a fact. I felt like collapsing on the spot. Part of me had hoped it was all a lie, but it turned out to be true. Sarah, why would you have an affair with Michael? I asked. Sarah snorted dismissively. It's because it's fun being with him. While you were dedicated to your job, I was doing household chores. But life felt more monotonous than I expected. Michael understood that and brought excitement to my everyday life. Sarah showed no signs of remorse. Her gentle smile had been nothing but a mask. Her true self was revealed as a cold-hearted woman. I was deeply disappointed, wondering what I had been seeing all this time. That night, I was so shocked that I couldn't sleep at all. The next morning, as soon as I got to work, I called Michael to a secluded conference room. What's up, Jason? Michael greeted me with his usual calm demeanor. However, as soon as I mentioned yesterday's events, his attitude changed drastically. His eyes sharpened, glaring at me. I made you work overtime to create a time when you'd definitely not find us, and I was meeting Sarah. Damn, I never thought someone you know would see us. Michael muttered, clicking his tongue in annoyance. I couldn't believe he went to such lengths just to have an affair. Furthermore, Michael revealed that he had been secretly hiding my things as a form of harassment. He said it was out of jealousy towards me. Why would you do something like that? Seduce a married woman and even harass me? Aren't you ashamed? I asked. I did it because I saw Sarah looking lonely since you weren't paying attention to her. I was healing her emotional wounds. Before blaming me, maybe you should reflect on your own actions, he retorted. Like Sarah, Michael showed no signs of remorse. Angered, I shot back. Maybe I had some shortcomings, but that doesn't justify having an affair. Please don't try to justify it, I said. Then, Michael looked down on me with disdain. No matter how much you fuss, your wife is mine. That fact won't change, he said with a sneer, leaving me dumbfounded as he walked out of the conference room. Betrayed not just by my wife, but also by my boss, I felt utterly downcast. I never imagined my seemingly smooth life would have such a pitfall. When I got home from work, I had another conversation with Sarah. "Let's get a divorce. I have no lingering feelings for you," Sarah said, crossing her legs and showing an indifferent attitude towards me. I felt my love for Sarah rapidly cooling. I was beyond anger, simply dumbfounded. I had no lingering feelings either. "All right, let's part ways." So, we filed for divorce and quickly became strangers again. I received a fair settlement and quit my job. Working with a boss who had an affair with my wife was unimaginable. Post-divorce and resignation, I found myself with nothing to do and plenty of time alone. I decided to enjoy this time. Exhausted from the turmoil of the divorce, I wasn't ready to jump back into full-time employment. Reminiscing about the past, I started making toys again after a long time. It felt like returning to my childhood, and it surprisingly lifted my spirits. It seemed to help heal the heartache caused by the affair. However, with no steady income, I did some part-time jobs to get by. A year after the divorce, I had a chance to hang out with my high school friends. As I hadn't yet found steady employment and had the time. Among those friends was Chris. Chris seemed concerned about me. "I'm actually feeling relieved after the divorce. It's good to see reality. Thanks for telling me," I reassured him, and he seemed relieved. As our gathering was winding down, Chris stopped me. "Hey, Jason, you're living off part-time jobs right now, right? Or how about working at my company?" he offered. I was surprised. I had just been considering getting back to full-time work. "Really? Are you sure?" I asked in surprise. "Our company just started a new venture. As part of it, we've created a division for developing our own products. We would love to have you on board, utilizing your experience from the town factory," Chris explained. "Thank you, I'd be grateful to work there," I replied, feeling thankful. Thanks to Chris, I quickly started working at the new job. After my experience with Michael, I initially distrusted my new colleagues and supervisors, but as I worked with them, I found them all to be sincere and good people. The workplace atmosphere was lively and easy to fit into. The CEO, Mr. Thompson, was very strict, but he paid close attention to each employee and ensured that no harassment occurred within the company. I felt the joy of being involved in crafting again as I started working. It seemed like this kind of work was truly suited for me. One day, there was a competition to decide the factory that would supply parts for a new product. Various factories presented, and we had to choose the best one. I was given the role of a judge in this decision. It was a significant competition, with a substantial investment from our company, so a casual judgment was not an option. Even Mr. Thompson and other executives participated as judges, showing its importance. I approached it with determination. However, on the day of the competition, I was shocked to see the attendees. Michael was there. I knew that people from my previous company would be participating, but I didn't expect Michael to be presenting. Michael was greeting and scraping to Mr. Thompson and the executives. Knowing his true nature, his behavior looked like nothing more than flattery to me. He didn't seem to notice me and sat down casually. Soon, the competition began. I tried to focus on the competition, putting thoughts of Michael aside for the time being. One by one, the factories presented. I listened intently, occasionally taking notes. Then it was Michael's turn to present. While his demeanor was bright and his speech smooth, the content of his presentation was superficial. Objectively, there were many flaws in his presentation. After the presentation, it was time for questions and answers. I had many questions and raised my hand. Michael finally noticed me when I started asking questions. He opened his mouth in surprise. Unperturbed, I asked. Firstly, about your proposed production system. It seems incapable of handling large-scale production. What are your thoughts on this? Suddenly, Michael snapped. Shut up, he yelled, throwing his microphone at me. You idiot, don't you dare critique my suggestions. You ran away from your previous company. As Michael shouted, Mr. Thompson looked puzzled. Jason, do you know this man, Michael? He asked. Yes, I do, I responded. I explained that Michael was my former boss, how he had an affair with my wife, and how he had harassed me with unreasonable workloads. Of course, I also mentioned that Michael showed no signs of remorse at all. Michael turned pale. Stop it. I won't forgive you if you say more. He tried to interject. Be quiet, Mr. Thompson commanded sternly, silencing him. After I finished speaking, Mr. Thompson put a comforting hand on my shoulder. I understand the situation well. You've had a hard time, he said sympathetically. Mr. Thompson, the CEO, had a kind expression on his face, but he looked sternly at Michael. We cannot do business with a company that employs such a person. Michael, you can leave now, he said. But Michael tried to say something more. Leave, I said. Mr. Thompson yelled, and Michael hurriedly left the room as if escaping. Afterward, the competition proceeded smoothly, and we successfully chose a factory to order parts from. Naturally, it wasn't Michael's company. Later, I heard that Mr. Thompson had reported everything that happened at the competition to Michael's company president. Michael was fired for upsetting an important client and for the harassment he committed against a former subordinate. His affair had also been discovered by his wife, and he was currently in the midst of divorce proceedings. Additionally, Sarah was facing a tough time, having been sued for damages by Michael's wife. By the way, I heard that Sarah and Michael ended up not working out and eventually broke up. This apparently happened just before Michael was fired. Their relationship, built on an affair, was just that superficial. I heard rumors that after breaking up with Sarah, Michael became irritable and couldn't focus on his work. That probably contributed to the poor quality of his presentation. In a moment of high stress, being criticized by me might have triggered his outburst. Speaking of which, Sarah did come to see me once. It was around the time she was being sued for damages. She ambushed me as I was returning from work. Hi, how are you doing? I heard you moved to a new company, she said with a forced smile, approaching me. What do you want? I asked coldly. Sarah looked troubled and said, Actually, I'm really short on money right now and struggling to get by. I've been trying to find a job, but it's not going well. You're a kind person, so you'll help me, right? It was all about money, as expected. I naturally refused. We're strangers now. I have no obligation to help you, I said and sent her away. Sarah kept contacting me persistently, but when I threatened to sue her if she didn't stop, she finally ceased communication. On the other hand, my accurate questioning of Michael's presentation at the competition earned Mr. Thompson's praise and led to my promotion. I was given the opportunity to lead more and more projects involving crafting. Among them, there were projects where I handled everything from scratch and successfully brought the products to market. It was a dream come true to do such work. With the help of my colleagues, I led all the projects I was in charge of to success. Thanks to that, I climbed the corporate ladder and now enjoy my work every day. There's also been a significant change in my personal life. I started dating Mr. Thompson's daughter, Emily. We met when I was invited to a home party hosted by Mr. Thompson. Emily was there too. Talking to her, it was clear that being raised by Mr. Thompson, she was a sincere and kind woman. Emily wasn't interested in my status or money. She truly saw me for who I am. She's nothing like the women involved in affairs, which gives me peace of mind in our relationship. Our relationship is even approved by Mr. Thompson. In fact, I'm planning to propose to Emily next month. I'm hoping for a positive response. Being betrayed by Sarah and Michael was a shock, but I never imagined such a turn of events. I'll continue to work hard, never forgetting the gratitude I have for those who supported me.